Okay, so have you ever been in like one of those situations, where you feel like you should be making conversations like at a networking thing or
Yeah,
you're at a party or something, or even just like standing in line for coffee
totally.
and you just don't know how to start talking to people.
Yeah, it's like that feeling of like, you should be doing it, but you don't know how to do it without it being awkward.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what we're looking at today is we're doing a deep dive into small talk.
Yes?
And I've got with me someone who knows a lot about this and can hopefully give us some advice on.
Yeah, I'm excited about this.
Yeah.
It's interesting, small talk sometimes gets a bad rap. I think people think of it as superficial or a waste of time, but it's really how you build any relationship, It's like the foundation.
It's the first step.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna take a look at a few sources today and see if we can kind of figure out how to do this small talk thing a little better.
Sounds good.
The first source we're going to look at is a blog post that lays out 10 steps to master small talk.
Okay.
The next one is a list of 170 small talk questions.
Wow. That's a lot.
I know, and we're not going to go through all of them.
Okay, good.
But we're going to pull out some of the best ones. And then the last one is a guide that gives us some more subtle tips about body language and exiting conversations gracefully and things like that.
So it's like going from the basics to the more advanced moves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I like it.
So let's jump right into that first one, the 10 steps to mastering small talk. And I thought this one was really good.
Okay.
And they start off by saying, stay informed.
Okay. So before you even go into a situation,
Right.
arm yourself with knowledge.
Right. And this seems kind of obvious, but
Yeah.
it's something that, I think we forget sometimes.
I think it's easy to forget because you get caught up in like the nerves of the situation and you forget to think about like, oh, what's going on in the world? What could I actually talk to somebody about?
Right. And it doesn't even have to be like super serious stuff. It could be just like pop culture stuff or, what's the latest viral video or
exactly.
something like that.
I think that's a good point because it shows the other person like that you're engaged with the world, that you're paying attention to things.
Right.
You're not just like in your own little bubble.
Right. You're interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like you're an interesting person.
So then they go on to say, ask good questions.
Okay, so this is where we kind of elevate it from just like, basic chit chat.
Right. And this is where I think a lot of us fall into that trap of like,
Oh, yeah.
How are you? What do you do?
The dreaded, how are you?
Yeah. And it's like,
It's just like a dead end.
yeah, nobody really wants to answer that.
Yeah.
Or they're just going to say fine.
Right, exactly.
And then
you're stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what could we do differently?
Well, I think what they're getting at is instead of those like generic questions, try to make them more specific.
Okay.
So like instead of saying, how was your weekend?
Yeah.
Maybe you could say like, what was the highlight of your weekend?
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it invites them to tell you something, a little more interesting.
Right. And it's still polite.
Yes, exactly. It's still within the bounds of like appropriate conversation.
Right.
But it just gives them a little more to work with.
Yeah. And it makes them more genuine too.
Yeah, exactly. It feels less like you're just going through the motions.
Yeah.
Like you actually care about the answer.
Which brings us to the next point. Be genuine.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. I think sometimes, in these situations where we're feeling awkward, we can try to be somebody we're not.
Yeah.
Or talk about things we don't really care about.
Yeah, you're trying to like project an image.
Yeah. And I think people can see right through that.
I think so too. It's like that inauthenticity is a real conversation killer.
Yeah.
It's so much better to just be yourself.
Yeah.
Even if it means admitting you don't know much about a topic or you're a little nervous.
It's okay to be nervous.
Yeah, people connect with that.
Yeah.
Like they connect with vulnerability and honesty.
So it's better to just be like, I'm a little nervous.
Yeah, just own it.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got stay informed, ask good questions, be genuine.
Okay.
And then the next one is find common ground.
All right, so this seems obvious, but like how do we actually do that?
Yeah, how do you do that when you're, talking to someone you don't know?
Right.
They say to pay attention to their body language and what they're saying and look for clues about their interests.
So it's like being a detective.
Yes.
Like you're looking for those little clues
right.
that can help you connect.
For example, they say if you're at a conference and you notice the person next to you has a phone case with a picture of a dog on it.
Yeah.
You could mention that you have a dog or ask what kind of dog they have.
Right. That's such an easy way to like break the ice.
It's so simple.
Yeah.
But it can totally work.
And it's way more natural than just like rattling off a list of questions.
Exactly. It's like you're actually paying attention to them.
Exactly. And it makes them feel seen and heard.
Okay, so we've got stay informed, ask good questions, be genuine, be observant.
Those are good.
It's like a good little foundation.
Foundation for small talk.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to move on to that giant list.
Okay, bring on the questions.
170 questions.
I'm ready.
All right, let's do it.
We're going to dive into that next.
170 questions. That's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, when I first saw this, I thought, how could anyone ever need this many, conversation starters?
Yeah.
But then I realized it's not about memorizing every single one.
It's more like having a toolbox.
Yeah, like a mental toolbox.
Right.
Yeah. You don't need every tool for every job.
Exactly.
But it's good to have options, and some of these are really
creative. Like, what are some that stood out to you?
Well, okay, this one I thought was really fun.
Okay.
If you could have any superpower, what would it be and why?
Ooh, I like that one.
Yeah.
It's playful, but it also kind of gets at like their values.
Yeah, and their personality.
Yeah, it's not just like surface level.
Yeah.
It's like you can learn something about them.
And it could lead to some really interesting conversations.
Totally.
Yeah. So I think that's what makes this list so valuable is it's not just about filling the silence. It's about actually starting a conversation.
Yeah, like you actually want to hear the answer to the question.
So I'm curious, from your perspective, what makes a good small talk question?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Well, I think one thing is that it should be open-ended.
Okay, so not just a yes or no.
Right, exactly. Okay. Because then they can elaborate.
Yeah.
So instead of saying, do you like to travel, you could say, what's your favorite travel destination?
Yeah. And why?
Yeah. 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 That's a much better question.
It gives them more to talk about.
Exactly.
Another thing to consider is the context.
Okay.
So like if you're at a networking event, you might ask what brought you here.
Okay.
Or what are you hoping to get out of this event?
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know, it's relevant to the situation.
Yeah.
And then if you're talking to someone you don't know very well, it's usually best to stick to like lighter topics, like hobbies, movies, restaurants.
Safe topic.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to jump into anything too personal or controversial too quickly. And then there was this other category of questions that I thought was interesting.
Oh, what's that?
They called them the unexpected questions.
Okay, so these are the ones that are a little more out there.
Yeah, like this one.
Okay.
If you could have dinner with any historical figure, who would it be and why?
I like that one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
It really makes you think.
Yeah, and it tells you a lot about the person.
Yeah, what they're interested in, what they value.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like getting a glimpse into their soul.
Right. But in a fun way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not too intense.
Exactly. Okay, so we've talked about staying informed.
Yeah.
Asking good questions, being genuine, being observant, but let's be honest.
Yeah.
Even with all of that, small talk can still be kind of...
Oh, totally. It can be nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
Like you're putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
You don't know how people are going to react.
So how do we deal with that?
Well, that's where our third source comes in.
Okay.
The Ultimate Guide to Small Talk.
Okay.
This one goes beyond the basics.
Okay.
And it talks about things like body language.
Okay.
How to exit a conversation gracefully.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah. Those are important skills too.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just about what you say.
Right.
It's about how you say it.
Yeah. I need help with all of that.
Well, let's dive in.
Okay. Wow. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
But I always wonder, like, okay, so now what?
Right.
Like, we've got all this information.
Yeah.
But what do we do with it?
Well, that's the key, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
It's one thing to know the theory, but how do we put this into practice?
Right.
I think it helps to think of it as a journey.
Okay, a journey.
Yeah, like a
small talk journey.
Exactly. Instead of like this big scary thing that we have to conquer.
Right.
It's more like a skill that we develop over time.
Okay, so it's not about being perfect. About just like...
Exactly. And like any journey, there are going to be bumps along the way.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You know you're going to have awkward silences.
Yeah.
You're going to say the wrong thing sometimes.
Yeah, you're going to feel weird.
But that's okay. It's all part of the process.
And everybody feels that way.
Yeah, everyone, even the most outgoing people have those moments.
So it's okay.
Yeah.
So I guess for anyone listening out there, where do you feel like you are on this journey?
Yeah, like, are you just starting out?
Yeah, are you feeling totally lost?
Or
Yeah.
Are you a little further along?
Yeah.
Maybe you're just looking for some new tips.
Right.
So think about what we talked about today.
Yeah.
What resonated with you?
What are you going to try?
Yeah. What's one thing you can try
Yeah.
in your next conversation?
Like maybe it's that staying informed thing,
Yeah.
so you have something to talk about.
Or that Google trick.
Oh, yeah, the Google trick.
I love that one.
It's a good one.
Or maybe it's just listening.
Yeah.
Like really listening.
Really paying attention.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so pick one thing.
Yeah. Just one thing.
And try it out.
And don't get discouraged if it feels weird.
Yeah, it's going to feel weird at first. It's
Yeah.
like anything new.
Like learning a new dance move.
Yes.
It's going to be awkward at first.
Exactly.
But the more you do it, the better you'll get.
Then eventually you might even like it.
I know, right?
Small talk.
Who would have thought?
Yeah, so if we can just take away the anxiety and the fear.
It's really just about connecting.
Yeah, just connecting with another person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sharing a moment.
Learning something new.
Exactly.
And who knows, maybe that random conversation about the weather could turn into something more.
You never know.
You never know.
It could be a new friendship.
Yeah.
A business opportunity.
Yeah, or just a good laugh.
Exactly.
So go out there and
embrace the small talks.
Embrace the small talk. Yeah. You got this.
You got this.
All right. Until next time.
Happy connecting.
Happy connecting.